just got wrecked.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Thursday. That's right, one step closer to the weekend. Hope you're having a great day, great week so far. However, we do know that once again, Bitcoin is not being so kind to us, down another 1.28% and falling. In fact, it's been quite a tough week for Bitcoin. Actually, quite a tough month. Actually, now that I think about it, Q3 and Q4. But guys, Santa Claus rally.
He needs some milk.
All right. Before we get ahead of ourselves, Santa Claus rally might be canceled, but we do still have over 2 weeks left for the year, so we will see. However, having a look at what we did do, we essentially fell out of this sort of ascending. It was almost like a bear, whatever you want to call it, pendant. Now, obviously we fell, and now we are being supported very loosely down here on this level. However, we do need to talk about what is going on with Bitcoin short term. Are we going to go down to some of these crazy low levels that these analysts are calling for? Well, that is what I want to talk about today. I also want to talk about some other things that we absolutely have to mention. Very important. Number one being the cost of mining. I want to talk about miner capitulation, okay, because we did have the miners capitulate at the bottom before we had that massive dump. I want to go into that. We also have people freaking out about the amount of longs over on BitMEX, saying that we're going to have some kind of a long squeeze potential dump. Now, I'm not saying we couldn't have a dump. I'm not sure if this is the reason why, but we will go into that today as well. I also think it's very important to go over Bitcoin actually funding on BitMEX because of the fact that it has flipped negative, and we do know that the BitMEX funding rate has had a substantial impact on the price of Bitcoin moving forward, and I do want to analyze that today. So lots of fundamentals today, lots of technicals today. You're definitely not going to want to miss today's video, and if you are not subscribed to the Crypto Zombie channel, you are definitely missing out at this point. We do this every single day, and every Monday is the Ledger Nano S giveaway, so definitely check that out. We also do have some other pretty cool news to go over as well, being the fact that the Twitter CEO is looking to potentially decentralize the platform, and oh yeah, Nike is looking to tokenize their shoes on Ethereum. So we're going to get into all that today. Having a look right now though, Bitcoin not looking too well. Still sitting at 66.6% Bitcoin dominance, so the hodlers are holding the level. They're holding it strong. Now, looking at some big gainers today, we do have Engine Coin, Cosmos, FTX, Hedge Trade, Tezos, Energy, Theta, DX, and Synthetics Network all doing quite well. We have longs and shorts relatively split down the middle. Not too much happening right now, unless, of course, you're over on Bitfinex, which we'll get into that in just a second. But essentially, you can see right here, we were in this giant sort of bear pennant. We were expecting a bit of a dump. Okay, we didn't really have the dump. We sort of just fell out of it. Now, yesterday, we said, hey, maybe we should just sort of like readjust our lines down here, maybe because Bitcoin fell. Well, regardless, it is still acting as resistance. So we need to talk about this because currently we are sitting on this support, which was the support that we had back here right before we had that 50% dump in November. So the question is, how strong really is this support for Bitcoin, and do we risk falling back down to the 6.5, 6K level and even lower, potentially falling down into the abyss of this falling wedge into the depths of Bitcoin despair? Well, before you get completely bearish, let's dive in and let's have a look super quick. Currently, we are basically being supported by the same exact trend that supported us right here, the historic trend line before we had that blast off. Now, I do want to point something out, just the same way that we were trapped between these 2 points starting back on January 10th at the beginning of the year. You could see we had support, resistance, support, finally broke above it. Once we got above it, then the top line, which was the resistance, then acted as the support. Well, fast forward to today, guys, and currently we are bouncing between the same two levels again. How strong will we be able to hold this time around? Well, short term, I am happy to see that we are above the resistance of this downwards, resistance that we had from this basically gigantic descending wedge. So we are above that. That's good, but for how long, right? So moving and having a look, I did talk about how I was very excited about still being supported by the 21 exponential on the monthly. However, you can currently see right now we are pushing even closer to it as we speak, and that level is at $7,089. The other level to keep in mind is the 200 moving average right here on the 3-day, and that is sitting at $6,996. So essentially, you really don't want Bitcoin to fall below 7,000. So let's have a look. Let's see what's going on. We did put in the golden cross on the weekly. How much will that actually fare this time around? Well, discussing the fact that everyone is calling for a massive dump. Some people are saying it is because of this potential, long squeeze that could happen. Now, you can see it is pretty damn high. I mean, it's the highest that it's ever been. However, I do just want to point one thing out super quick. At my signal, unleash the shorts. One second. Before we get crazy, everyone seems very concerned that the longs are at an all-time high. Now, this is according to Scott Melker on BitMEX, right? The only exchange that offers a short-long chart on TradingView. He says, don't be concerned. BitMEX is unimportant. BitMEX has all the volume, and the funding is actually flipping negative, and we're going to get into that in just a second. And you might just have your mind blown. But that being said, also, I want to give a shout out to Crypto Flux. He says, and longs on BitMEX are not at all-time highs. 38K BTC longs at 7K price per BTC equals 260 million longs. In December 17th, there were 30K BTC longs at 20K per BTC, so 600 million long. So the real long squeeze was actually probably at the top of the markets, but let's dive in because this is some incredibly important information if you've never seen this. Now, what you are looking at below is the BitMEX funding rate, and you can see it does flip positive and negative. Now, without going into too much detail, you can research this if you want, but I just basically want to show you the data. Now, it does go back and forth. You can see it flips between green to red, green to red, green to red, right? Positive, negative, positive, negative. Well, currently right now it is sitting negative, and it has been sitting negative since around November 22nd. So what does this mean? Well, the last 3 times that it did flip negative, you could see once we did have a flip into the positive, Bitcoin actually put in a massive pump, whereas during the time that it was flipped negative, Bitcoin had a bit of a downtrend, right? So you can see in this period right here, downtrend, flip positive. Well, what did Bitcoin put in at that point? From bottom to top, we had a 32% pump. Then we flipped negative again. We had a drop. Then we flipped positive right here. Let's see what Bitcoin put in. We had about a 12% pump, okay? And I don't have to tell you what happened on October 25th. That was crazy. So currently right now, guys, zooming in, we are sitting negative. We have not flipped positive just yet. So the question is, are we looking for another massive Bitcoin pump if we do actually flip back into the positive? Because the last 3 times that this happened, essentially, that actually last 4 times too, if you count right here. So that is the question I wanted to ask you guys moving forward. Now, FilbFilb, he's a very popular analyst. I actually do enjoy his analysis, and he's been pretty damn accurate recently. He's currently saying that he is short, and he is looking for lower lows, and this is basically the level that he's talking about, and he's looking to accumulate sort of in this range between 6.5K up to about 6.8K. So that's his accumulation range. And actually, if we play this out, have it sort of see where we are right now, we're basically sitting right at the line, guys. We're sitting right at FilbFilb's line where he does say that we need to fall lower. But outside of just price, outside of just looking at volume, outside of looking at indicators, we need to talk about some fundamentals, right? Because we do have the hash rate essentially looking like it is trying to almost flatten out, almost have a plateau. You can see right here we had a nice upwards trend, and right here we're just sort of going sideways. Now ignore the sporadicness because clearly this is just snapshots, but we're not putting in higher highs, right? After we did right here, essentially on the 22nd, we really haven't gone any higher. Now, I do want to talk about the price of mining Bitcoin. Now, this is an old chart. This is not really up to date, so you can't go by this anymore, but I'm going to go into the new prices as well. You can see right here, this was about a year and a half ago, and you had the US saying that it cost about $4,758 to mine a Bitcoin, right? Some places it cost only $531, for example, in Venezuela. However, that being said, we did fall well below that level, and we did have minor capitulation. Although, if you were to take the average of all of these prices, right, by the time we had that drop, it was around the $3,200, $3,300 level. Well, this is the interesting thing right here. Having a look at the Bitcoin difficulty adjustment. Now, this is what happens, with the miners, right? As miners drop out, it adjusts, and then as miners come in, it also becomes more difficult for all of them, right? And you can see right here, a 5-year-old could see this, where we had the difficulty drop was essentially right here at the November dump. The big November dump right here, right? Now, here's the thing. That created a bottom, and we have gone higher since. So what I'm trying to say is that the cost of Bitcoin, let's just take the US, for example, which was sitting at around $4,758 is now sitting much higher. In fact, I just had a conversation with Mr. Christoph. You might be familiar with him. He actually runs a mining farm, and he was talking to some of his miner friends and explained to me that currently their cost is, depending on what kind of machine you have, averaging between like 6.3K to 6.5K. So that is essentially where mining for the miners becomes no longer profitable. And I just want to point out that as we had this drop right here leading up to the capitulation, if we zoom into today, we are currently having that drop right now. So is this the beginning of the miner capitulation? And knowing the fact that miners are saying that it's a 6.3 to 6.5K sort of price to create a Bitcoin, then the question is, does that mean that the 6.3K, 6.5K level is the bottom or will be the bottom? Let me know what you guys think about that, but that's definitely some interesting data to consider. Now, let's talk about some other things. We have industry expert Matt D'Souza. He brought up some interesting facts regarding institutional involvement. And I know you don't want to hear about this. I know the institutions are the devil. They're ruining Bitcoin. They're killing Bitcoin. Well, they're here. So we need to discuss this, all right? So basically you could see, according to Matt D'Souza, he says that Bitcoin is currently in the first third of a bull market, and there are conditions representing an excellent signal to buy. Now, this is him, not me, okay? I'm not a financial advisor. He is. So he says, basically, institutions are getting more involved in the market. This is evident by the fact that the volume on the CME Bitcoin futures contract, which is more or less geared towards larger investors, trumps that of popular cryptocurrency exchanges like Coinbase and Bitfinex. And actually, if we zoom in right here, just to give you, he actually tweeted this out. Basically, you guys could see essentially purple represents the CME, and green and blue is Bitfinex and Coinbase. And you can see right here in Q4 of 2017, which is when we had the massive dump, which is when everybody was saying that essentially futures were manipulating the market, which they did have a hand in it, of course they did. But notice how low this was. In fact, futures did not start to overtake Bitcoin until Q1 of this year, which is kind of interesting because if we go back and have a look at Q1 of this year, that was actually when Bitcoin started to pump. So as much as everybody's saying that the institutions are the devil, they might have actually had a hand to do with the initial pump of Bitcoin. And I know some of you are probably saying the plus token scam. Of course that had something to do with it. Of course tether printing had something to do with it. But according to him, this is a sign that smart money, which is how institutional inflows are commonly related to, is more than basically the retail. Now listen to this and listen to what he had to say. Essentially, we are sitting in topsy-turvy world. It's absolutely backwards. This is the total opposite of what we were dealing with at the all-time high. For example, he says there aren't a lot of people, friends or family asking about Bitcoin right now. How many of your friends are asking you about your Bitcoin right now? Did you have a big Bitcoin conversation this Thanksgiving? Do you plan on having a conversation about cryptocurrency with your family this upcoming holidays? Well, basically, he says right now it's the opposite. We are presently in the opposite environment where the institutions are accumulating while the retail is showing zero interest. All of this builds up to a point in which he does believe is a good time to buy Bitcoin. Now, you might be saying, well, if you think it's going to go lower, why not wait? Well, the reality is, no one can actually time the bottom. And just to sort of point something out real quick, one thing for people who say that Bitcoin is a crappy investment, well, guys, from bottom to top, just to refresh your memory, we are up still 130%. And also currently from the top, we are down currently 48, almost 49%. So for everybody that was waiting to buy, waiting for that discount, waiting for that opportunity to get some cheap Bitcoin, I mean, could it fall lower? It could. It could fall lower, but if you're looking long term and you're looking to dollar cost average and you realize the value of Bitcoin, what does it matter if you buy at 7 or 6 or 5 or even 10 in 5 to 10 years from now when you're seeing projections of Bitcoin hitting upwards of 250, 300, $500,000 for one Bitcoin? Would it really matter if you bought at 6 or 5 or 7 or even 10, or actually even if you happen to buy at the 20K or 14 top, right? Not financial advice, but for everyone that was looking for that discount, here it is, but I do wonder how many actually are going to, talk the talk and buy it. I'm buying it right now, but, will you be? That's up to you guys. I'm just a guy on the internet. However, we are seeing right now that we still do have, unfortunately, the narrative about Bitcoin being used for nefarious purposes. You could see James Tadaro pointed out, I know we like to ignore this for the sake of mainstream acceptance, but the USD value of Bitcoin passing through darknet markets continues to increase regardless of Bitcoin's speculative value. Well, to that, I say, whoever is still using Bitcoin on the darknet, you are an idiot and you deserve everything that's coming to you. Bitcoin is not private. Stop. You're ridiculous. Besides, we also know that, come on, the US dollar trumps nefarious activities when it comes to Bitcoin, at least by 100x, okay? But that being said, talking about the fact that Bitcoin could potentially hit these crazy numbers like 100K, 250, right? Now, I know what you're saying. No way. No way we're going that high. Guys, no one even thought Bitcoin was going to be $10,000 by the end of this year, and we've seen a $14,000 Bitcoin. Now, yes, we've pulled back, but that just goes to show you how crazy Bitcoin can be. Now, you guys are probably familiar with Mark Yusko. He is the CEO of Morgan Creek, and he was talking about the explosive growth for Bitcoin over the next 10 years. He had an interview with Business Insider, and essentially he says, number one, he is looking at Bitcoin addresses growing. If you go to blockchain.com, you could see that we had a massive increase in Bitcoin wallets this year from around 31 million all the way up to 44 million. Now, keep in mind, if you are using a ledger and you are sending, multiple transactions, it does generate a address every single time, right? So you got to take it with a grain of salt because, I, for example, could generate hundreds of addresses on just this one device, right? So that's something you have to consider. But he also does believe that it is a viable alternative to fiat currency, of course, talking about its scarcity, 21 million halving, we know all that, right? But he does say in the long term, he predicts a new parabolic rally for Bitcoin by 2021, considering we just heard the fact that we may be in the first third of a massive bull run. He does say between now and 2021, we are likely to see a $100,000 Bitcoin by 2025. We're likely to see a $250,000 Bitcoin, and sometime in 2030, we could see a $400,000 to $500,000 Bitcoin. So I know that's kind of a long time away. We're talking about another decade, but if you do have 10 years to wait, what does it matter, once again, if you buy a Bitcoin for 5, 7, 10, or 14 when we're looking at these types of predictions? And, friendly reminder, these guys are doing $1.5 billion of assets under management. Now, we do have Bitcoin derivatives exchange, BitMEX, enables SegWit withdrawals. This is good. This is a lot better for the network. I think everyone should just enable SegWit at this point, but that's not really why they're in the news today. In fact, BitMEX is in the news because founder Arthur Hayes is being sued for $300 million for allegedly stiffing an early investor. Frank Amato and RBG Coin Limited claim to have been the first seed investor of BitMEX in 2015 at around $30,000. They claim that it was supposed to be converted into equity that would be valued at around $50 million, but they weren't granted their equity. So now they claim that BitMEX basically gave false information. Amato and RBG Coin want to recoup the value of their equity, more than $50 million, and $250 million in punitive damages based on the estimated value of the stake. The exchange is now valued at $1 billion. So, so what do they want? They want basically a total of $300 million. So, just get to some liquidating, Arthur Hayes, right? Isn't that what you always do? All right, guys, just kidding. But that being serious, if you are trading on leverage, it's been very controversial recently. It's been around since 2015. It's a great way to make money. It's also a great way to get wrecked. But that being said, guys, be safe out there right now. Would I be trading? I mean, I do tend to come over here once in a while on Bybit, but currently right now, guys, I am mostly just accumulating. I think right now, these levels are just so low. I really don't understand personally why. I mean, you could try to short it if you want. Not financial advice. Do what you want, guys. But that being said, we do need to move on and continue. So let's talk about some altcoins today. So Binance says that it will list Engine and Icon. That's actually the only news I have for that. So moving on, we do have Bank of America recently acknowledged that Ripple's cross-border solution is innovative and praised it in a report. So for everyone out there, my XRP fan, my XRP army, you can see this is a screenshot, Ripple cross-border solution. So yeah, I mean, Bank of America, they are praising Ripple's cross-border, solution. So there you guys go. And, talking about altcoins, I know that this year has been really not that great for altcoins. Some of them did all right. But for example, like what we saw the other day with Matic and stuff like that, the question is right here. And Eric Voorhees basically says in 2017, the mistaken narrative was all of these coins are worth billions. Well, we know that turned out to be wrong. In 2019, the mistaken narrative is all of these coins are worthless. What do you guys think? The truth. Some coins are vastly valuable, most are not. Like startups, the market discovers success with time and iteration. So that's kind of the situation, guys. Are there going to be altcoins that are going to 10x, 20x, 100x? Absolutely, but how are you going to find those? Are you able to do that fundamental research? Most people don't, right? And I think that's why a lot of people have switched to mostly Bitcoin, but just curious, show me your altcoins. Let me know. Drop a comment below. Are there any altcoins that you're personally really heavily invested in or not invested in? Maybe you're curious about that you like. Let me know. Maybe we can start looking into some more altcoins, guys. It's been almost a damn year at this point, but ending on some pretty cool news. Jack from Twitter, he basically tweeted this. I thought I retweeted this. I guess I only liked it, but he said Twitter is funding a small independent team of up to 5 open source architects, engineers, and designers to develop an open source and decentralized standard for social media. The goal is for Twitter to ultimately be a client for this standard. And then he went on to say, finally, new technologies have emerged to make a decentralized approach more viable. Blockchain points to a series of decentralized solutions for open and durable hosting, governance, and even monetization. Much work to be done, but the fundamentals are there. So number one, the question is, do you think Twitter actually needs to be decentralized? Do you think Twitter would benefit from being decentralized? Let me know. It's pretty cool, though, to hear a guy talking about this. Twitter's huge, guys, and the CEO is all about Bitcoin and blockchain, so you definitely have to be happy about that. Also want to talk about some news from Nike. They announced that they've been given a patent to tokenize their shoes on the Ethereum blockchain. Nike stated that it plans to generate unique IDs, creating ERC20 non-fungible tokens. If you're not familiar with those, essentially, whereas, other tokens are fungible. In other words, it doesn't really matter which token I give you, right? If I send you 0.5 Bitcoin, you don't really care where it came from, although technically it can be traced back and tainted. But non-fungibles represent in-game items, like weapons or collectibles or things like that. Well, basically, when buying shoes, you're now going to be able to unlock these tokens and then link them with the unique owner ID to confirm your ownership. But that's not all. It's not only that, you will also be able to record the so-called genotype information of the digital shoe. The information will also include specific attributes like colors, styles, backgrounds, etc. So if you're not excited about that, well, I don't know what excites you then. Also, let's just end on some positive news. The New York Department of Financial Services, which has been known to be quite a stickler, known for their infamous bit license. Well, basically, it looks like any new cryptocurrency, once approved by them, can now be listed on any exchange operating in New York, subjected to that they have given prior notice to the regulators. So this isn't like the greatest possible news, but the fact that I feel like they took one step back after taking I don't know. So just kind of wanted to point that out moving forward. But that being said, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Definitely be safe out there. Could we go lower? Absolutely. Are we close to the bottom? In my opinion, yes. But what the heck do I know? I'm just a guy on the internet. I've only been doing this thing for 3 years. Bitcoin's been around for 10, so I missed 70% of the journey, but I am going to be here for the remaining percent of whatever that is. So that being said, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. What are we doing right now? What are we doing? Yeah, we're just doing what we've been doing, guys. 7, yeah, okay. So that being said, guys, I am out of here, and tomorrow is Friday, so let's get excited, and I do have a special surprise for you tomorrow, but you're gonna have to stick around for that. If you do want the Ledger Nano S, definitely drop a comment. If you're not subscribed, do that. If you want to join the Telegram group, it's right here. It's absolutely free, and remember, I will never hit you up in the comments below asking you for any money or any information. It's most likely a scammer, and with that being said, I'm out of here, guys. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto, and peace out.